Today I'm coming to you from my front yard with something I'd like to call pro tips. So when I first started fly fishing about 50 years ago, when you wanted to go out on a lake, you had maybe two options. You could use a boat or you could use a float tube. And back then, float tubes were in their infancy. They all consisted of a truck inner tube wrapped in nylon with a seat. When you sat in one, you're up to about here in the water. So you needed full chest waders, preferably neoprene, which was also just in its infancy. Now you have a whole myriad of choices about how you get on the water, and this is the one that I use. Now, if you'll note, a lot of the new floating devices you can use to lake fish have seats that keep you up off the water. In my case, I'm like 8 or 9 inches above the water when I'm fishing. So even though I've been fishing 50 years, doesn't mean you don't learn things, new things all the time, and I do. I was out at Pass Lake about 2 years ago. It was May. I was putting in, and there was an older gentleman, and he was putting in. He had a boat just like mine, only his was blue. And I watched him getting ready as I was getting ready, and he put on hip waders. And I was like, what? And I watched him put in, and I watched him move out, and it dawned on me, you know, he's got it right. The only part of my body that goes in the water in this thing are my feet. Like the water doesn't come any further than like my mid shin. So it's like, why am I wearing hip waders that come all the way up to my chest? And you know, it was a nice May day near the end of May, and the temperatures were in the mid 70s. And you know what it's like to be covered completely in plastic. Even though these are breathable, theoretically, they don't breathe that much. So if you're hot and you're warm and you've got this plastic pressed against your skin, you're going to start getting pretty clammy. Well, he had already figured that out. He didn't need to cover his whole body with this stuff. So, you know, I realized if I got myself a pair of stocking foot hip waders, that I would be far more comfortable out on the water. And so that's what I've done. I've gotten a set of hip waders, breathables. Now I will tell you one thing, it's kind of hard to find stocking foot hip waders. So far I've only found 2 brands. When I started out, I had a pair of Frog Togs. Those things lasted me about a year and a half. And that brings me up to my second tip, which is when I bought those Frog Togs, I bought the size that kind of precisely fit me. It was a, you know, pretty snug fit, and that was a mistake. So if you buy waders that don't have enough room in them, when you go to take them off or put them on, you have to tug. All that tugging puts stress on the seams and on the stitches. And eventually that is going to cause leaks, and that's what happened with mine. So when you buy a set of waders, keep that in mind and buy them a little bit large. Ideally, when you buy a set of waders like this, you want them to come off and go on easily, just to slip on and slip off. So I've got these are probably a size or 2 too big, no big deal. When it comes time to take them off, it's pretty easy. It's not a lot of tugging, not a lot of force, off it comes, you know, and that's what you're looking for. Well, if you found this has been helpful, please subscribe and hit like, and if you hit the bell, you'll be notified of any new content that comes up. Thank you for watching.